Hello.
Good evening, Teacher Deann.
Good evening.
How are you today?
Okay, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
A little tired, I think.
Okay, you're a little tired. Can you hear me clearly, by the way?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay, great. So, you said a while ago that you are really tired today, right? Oh, you're quite
Yes.
tired. Okay, so it's okay. After your class, I know that you can rest well, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so are you ready for the class?
Yes, I'm ready for class today.
Great. Okay, so our class for today is your assessment of learning from the units 1 to 4. Okay, so we will have here the progressive test, or progressive test 1, units 1 to 4. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready for test.
Okay, great. It seems that you are really ready. So this time, let us first have our listening part. So we will start in page 2. Okay, so there is an audio file at the beginning of page 1, or at the top of page 1, I mean. So listen to that audio file first, and let us have our listening part after you listen to that audio file, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so can you start?
Yes.
Progress Test 1.
Speaker 1.
It's important that you give everyone an opportunity to speak if they want to, without interrupting them unnecessarily. That's not to say, though, that you should let certain people dominate the session. Quite the opposite. Create an atmosphere of openness and trust, so that everyone feels able to make their contribution.
Speaker 2.
Book an appropriate room for the type of meeting, and don't forget to take into account the number of people attending. Not one that's too big or too small, too hot or too cold. It's awful sitting being squashed in a hot and stuffy old seminar room, or freezing in a huge boardroom.
Speaker 3.
Ensure that when you're organising a meeting, that those people who have been asked to come are really the ones you need to be there. There's nothing worse than sitting in a meeting where you have nothing to say. And it's even worse being in a meeting with people who have nothing to do with the topic under discussion.
Speaker 4.
Being late for a meeting shows a lack of respect for the other participants, so make sure you get there promptly and don't wait until someone comes to find you. If you really can't get there, make sure you send your apologies way in advance so that there's time for someone else to be invited in your place.
Speaker 5.
If you are arranging the meeting, make sure that you let everyone know beforehand what is expected of them and what they need to bring or read. You know, make photocopies of any reports or whatever that you want them to look at in advance.
Teacher Deann, could I listen again?
Sure you can.
Thank you.
Progress Test 1.
Speaker 1.
It's important that you give everyone an opportunity to speak if they want to, without interrupting them unnecessarily. That's not to say, though, that you should let certain people dominate the session. Quite the opposite. Create an atmosphere of openness and trust, so that everyone feels able to make their contribution.
Speaker 2.
Book an appropriate room for the type of meeting, and don't forget to take into account the number of people attending. Not one that's too big or too small, too hot or too cold. It's awful sitting being squashed in a hot and stuffy old seminar room, or freezing in a huge boardroom.
Speaker 3.
Ensure that when you're organising a meeting, that those people who have been asked to come are really the ones you need to be there. There's nothing worse than sitting in a meeting where you have nothing to say. And it's even worse being in a meeting with people who have nothing to do with the topic under discussion.
Speaker 4.
Being late.
Progress Test 1.
Speaker 1.
It's important that you give everyone an opportunity to speak if they want to, without interrupting them unnecessarily. That's not to say, though, that you should let certain people dominate the session. Quite the opposite. Create an atmosphere of openness and trust, so that everyone feels able to make their contribution.
Speaker 2.
Book an appropriate room for the type of meeting, and don't forget to take into account the number of people attending. Not one that's too big or too small, too hot or too cold. It's awful sitting being squashed in a hot and stuffy old seminar room, or freezing in a huge boardroom.
Speaker 3.
Okay,
Ensure
teacher
that when
Deann,
you're
I
organising a
think
meeting,
I'm done.
Okay, great. Now this time let us check our listening part. So you have heard 5 people talking, so there are 5 speakers in our audio, right? So for
Yes.
each recording, match the speaker to one piece of advice from A to H that he or she gives. You will hear the recording twice, so you have already heard the recording twice, so let us check if your answers are correct. Okay, so let's start. Okay, great. Let's start with speaker 1. So what are the things that you can remember from speaker 1?
Mm, we said that it is important to listen to the participants' opinions. Yes.
Okay, so it is important to listen to the participants, right?
Yes.
So what is your answer for this part?
Mm, I think it's A.
Okay, so it is A. Okay, so why do you think it's letter A?
Because it's mentioned to brief participants well.
Okay, has it been mentioned to brief the participants well? Okay, so what do you think?
I think it's mentioned that listen to participants is important.
Listening to the participants is important, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you listen to the participants, okay, do you let them speak or dominate the whole meeting?
Not the whole meeting, but like 5 or like 2 to 5 minutes, I think.
Okay, so that is to brief the participants. Okay, but that is for you to brief the participants, right? But what do you mean by briefing the participants?
Actually, I'm not sure the answer is A or H.
Okay, A or H. When you say have someone take the minutes, when we say minutes, these are the things that has been talked about in the duration of the meeting, right? So there's just one person who would take notes. Okay. So there is a secretary that would take the minutes. So letter H would probably not be our answer this time.
Okay.
Okay, because it is clearly said there that it should be, or the meeting should be open to all the people that is involved, right? So they have to speak their minds out in that certain meeting. Okay, they should it should be an atmosphere, or we should have an atmosphere of openness and trust.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want your meeting to have that certain atmosphere, what should you do?
I think it should have a clear purpose.
You should have a clear purpose. Okay, so if you want them to have, to open themselves up, you should have a clear purpose, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think are the other possible answers for this one?
Sorry. Each one has maybe one or two answers.
Okay, so it could be, but let us see how you could justify your answer, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so you said that it should be letter B so that you would have a clear purpose. Okay, so I would accept that. Okay, if you have a clear purpose in the meeting, then that would encourage them to answer or to participate as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I'm really finding another one. What do you think is it?
I think it might be C. Invite the right people.
Invite the right people is another speaker. And yes. I think you have got that one correctly. So, to lessen the confusion, okay, do you want us to skip number 1 first?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. So let us have speaker 2. So your answer for speaker 2 is?
F. Choose the right location.
Choose the right location. Because what are the things that you have heard in our audio?
Just speaker 2 has said that the place it is very important to choose an appropriate place for the speech. It's not it should not be too small or too big. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So the answer is letter F. Very good. Okay, so you should have or choose the right location. Not too big or not too small. Okay, just the right place. Now let us have speaker 3. Your answer is letter C. Because what are the things that you have heard in that part?
Speaker 3 has said that when organizing a speech, it is important to invite the right people or people will not listen what she or he wants in a speech.
Okay, very good. So, invite the right people. They should make sure, or you should make sure that these people would speak something or have their ideas, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is to invite the right people. So you're right that letter C is the answer in this part. Okay, so how about number 4?
Number 4 is letter D, arrive on time, because the speaker said that it is very rude when you late in a speech.
Okay, so it is very rude that you are late, or you should just inform or apologize right away if you cannot make it on time. Okay, so how about speaker 5? Why is it letter A?
And letter E.
Letter E, sorry.
Letter E, chair meeting effectively, because he mentioned that the organizer of the speech should prepare like some papers or some tools for the speech that the people who want to participate in the speech can realize what the speech is and how it will going to do in the speech.
Okay, so what else? What else do you or have you heard in the audio that made you answer letter E in speaker 5? Actually, it's quite hard for this one because we don't have any script. I don't even have a copy of the script, so we could depend on what we only have heard. So let us see. Why do you think it's letter E?
Because as I just said, if don't prepare the stuff for the speech, things for the speech, then people won't know how the speech is going.
Is going.
Yes, and what's the aim of the speech?
The aim of the speech. Okay. So that word is aim, right?
Yeah. Aim.
Okay, again. Aim.
Aim.
Okay. It should be aim, like sounding the A sound, like aim.
Aim.
Okay, like you want to emphasize the A harder, so like aim.
Aim.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, I know that it's hard sometimes to pronounce this one right away. It's like aim.
Okay.
Okay, so speaker 5 is chair the meeting effectively, but I would like to suggest that it is also like having a clear purpose.
Okay.
Okay, it could be B and E. And okay, B and E. And speaker 1, B, I will consider this one. And it is also, what do you think? When we say chair the meeting effectively, that is to organize the meeting effectively.
Yes.
So one way of organizing is by creating an atmosphere of trust and openness. So when you want to create an atmosphere of trust and openness, then you should have chair the meeting effectively. Okay? Okay, that means you should organize the meeting effectively. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so when you want to have that one, or let us have letter A. Okay, briefing the participants, but mostly it could be in invite the right people. When you're inviting the right people, you can brief them that this would happen. You will orient them that this one will be happening at this moment. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So do you have any questions with the things that you have listened to in this part?
No, I don't have question about this part.
Okay, no question. So this time, let us move on to the language part. That was quite tough. Listening is tough, actually, because you need to analyze the things that you have heard. You need to listen very carefully to the words. So that's it. Okay, now this time let us have the language part.
Okay.
So in this language part, you will complete the sentences using the correct form of the verbs in the brackets. Okay, so in units 1 to 4, if you can remember, we have discussed a lot of topics about past simple, perfect present, or perfect past, okay, simple present or simple past tense. Okay, so this time let us see how you will change the following verbs into the right tenses that will match the sentences. Okay?
Okay.
So it could be future, past, present. Okay? So let's start with number 6.
Number 6, are you working on a new project at the moment?
Okay, so number 6, are you working on a new project at the moment? Okay, so are you working here is in, what do you think is that tense, if you can still remember?
Is present continuous.
Very good. So that is in the present continuous tense. Okay, that's great. How about number 7?
Number 7. My colleague always finishes work early on Fridays. Is present simple tense.
Okay, my colleague always finishes work early on Fridays. So that is correct. Now what do you think is, or why do you think it should be the present tense?
Because it's is just tell. It is just truth.
Okay, because that is a statement that shows a routinary activity, right? So it is always happening. Okay, or it is regularly happening. So when that is the case, you should always use the
Present simple.
Okay, or the simple present tense. Very good. How about number 8?
Number 8. Our company has already invested 4.54 million in research and development this year.
Okay, so we have our company has already invested $4.54 million in research and development this year. Okay, so that is...
That is... I only remember it's a perfect.
Okay, so it is... What tense?
It is sorry. It is past simple perfect.
Or... Okay, so that is... What tense is that?
Present perfect tense.
Okay, present perfect tense. Okay, so that should be, yes, present perfect tense. Okay.
Okay.
So we have here the has as your perfect plus our past tense verb, or our verb in the present or in the perfect form, or the past participle, sorry. Okay, so it should be like that one.
Okay.
So how about number 8 or number 9?
Number 9. Number 9, the marketing team meets in London once a week. It's present simple because it's also a statement of a routine activity.
Okay, the marketing team meets in London once a week. Okay, very good. Like number 7. How about number 10?
At the moment, we are not developing a new brand. And it's also present continuous.
Okay, so at the moment we are not developing a new brand. Okay. How about number 12?
Number 11.
Or number 11, sorry. That should be number 11.
Do you usually You do usually buy birthday presents for your colleagues?
Okay, so do you usually buy birthday presents for your colleagues? Okay. Very good. How about number 12?
Number 12. When new company, Gold Kids, produces books for children. And is also present simple tense.
Okay, so we have the new company Google Kids produces books for children. Okay, very good. How about number 13?
Number 13. I am going to see my boss at 12:30 tomorrow.
Okay, so I am going to see my boss at 12:30 tomorrow. Okay. How about number 14?
Number 14. I'm going to a conference too. I will give you a lift if you like.
Okay, so I will give. Okay. I'm going to the conference too. I will give you a lift if you like. Okay. How about number 15?
Number 15. The bus departs from the central bus station at 7:35 p.m. It's present simple tense because it's talk about the timetable or it's talk about a timetable or program.
Okay, so it should be simple present tense. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, how about number 16?
Number 16. I won't be able to make the workshop on Friday. I am going to Frankfurt for a long weekend. I use present continuous tense since I think it talk about the fixed arrangement.
Okay, so it is, I won't be able to make the workshop on Friday. I'm going to Frankfurt for a long weekend. It should be future, okay? Continuous tense or present continuous, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about number 17?
Number 17. Attend the seminar next week.
Okay, so we will have here. Okay, are you going to attend the seminar next week? Very good. How about number 18?
Number 18. I think the Budapest flights.
So,
Race 2.
okay, I think it's the Budapest flight is going to be late too. Okay, because it was not yet fulfilled. Right? Okay, so how about number 19?
19. Number 19. They are staying at the Ibis Hotel in Paris at the moment.
Okay, so they are staying. Okay, why do you think it is are staying rather than they will be staying?
Because at the moment.
Okay, because of the time at the moment. So how about number 20?
Number 20. I have decided I will leave the company soon.
Okay, so I've decided I will leave the company soon. So it should be I will leave, or it should be this one. Okay, that's great. Okay, so now do you have any questions with our tenses of the verbs?
No, I don't have a question about the second part.
Okay, now let us move on to our reading part. Okay, so let us first read the article and decide if the statements are true or false. So let us read first changes in business operations.
Okay.
Okay, so that is by Alan Roger. Now can you start?
Yes. Changes in business operations by Alan Roger. British companies are investing huge amounts of money in making changes to their traditional business practices. The main aims behind these investments are to increase the quality of services provided while reducing prices. The demand for available and skilled IT resources in the UK is so great that many customer services companies have decided to outsource contracts to low-cost countries such as India in order to meet this demand. So, what are the challenges and opportunities that outsourcing presents? There have been many newspaper stories of failed projects and broken down relationships between customers and the service companies who have outsourced contracts. Probably the most famous of these stories was LS, who had agreed a 10-year deal to provide services for Tilkin. This ended earlier this year, when LS was replaced by Carcots. However, it was not all bad news, and LS behaved professionally and helped to ensure the successful takeover of the service by its rival. So the only problems reported were minor ones. The main goal of investing in outsourcing is to improve the quality of customer services and to lower the cost of operations at the same time. One example of a successful outsourcing partnership is Bilton's. Almost 2 years ago, the company started outsourcing services to a um, consortium consortium of companies. The deal with the consortium is for 5 years. Payments are made to the consortium if it reaches its targets. It has to deliver a 2% improvement in customer satisfaction annually. There are huge opportunities for small and medium-sized business to make savings by using shared services. For instance, organizations with similar requirements can negotiate to use the same service provider. This would mean that the cost for each company would be reduced through savings of scale. This is the model behind a deal recently announced for a joint venture between Part2 Go and Delcom. Partnerships are great opportunities to show what can be achieved with open minds, shared interests, and a commitment to better and cheaper services. Perhaps the experience of the past can actually help make changes for the future. From the Financial Times World Business newspaper.
Okay, very good. So first, let us have your pronunciation in the following words. So first is available.
Available.
Okay, very good. So I have put the pronunciation of the word so that you will remember. Next is behaved.
Behaved.
Okay, very good. So again, you should emphasize the sounds of the long A. Okay, available or behave.
Okay. Available and behaved.
Okay, again, can you say the word available?
Available.
Great. Okay, so one technique that would help you pronounce the word well is to open your mouth properly. Okay? Okay. So it's okay. Usually when you have this long A sound, it will require you to smile, like to open your mouth sideways, like smiling. Okay, available.
Okay.
Okay.
Available.
Yes, it seems like I'm quite smiling when I say a word that has a long A sound. So you can do the same so that you will be able to really achieve that long A sound. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. Now let me read again our article, and please take note of the pronunciation of the words that is in here. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we have Changes in Business Operations by Alan Roger. British companies are investing huge amounts of money in making changes to their traditional business practices. The main aims behind this investment are to increase the quality of services provided while reducing prices. The demand for available and skilled IT resources in the UK is so great that the many customer services companies have decided to outsource contracts to low-cost countries such as India in order to meet this demand. So, what are the challenges and opportunities that outsourcing presents? There have been many newspaper stories of failed projects and broken down relationships between customers and the service companies who have outsourced contracts. Probably the most famous of these stories was Ellis, who had agreed a 10-year deal to provide services for Tilken. This ended earlier this year when Ellis was replaced by Calcon. However, it was not all bad news, and Ellis behaved professionally and helped to ensure the successful takeover of the service by its rival. So the only problems reported were minor ones. The main goal of investing in outsourcing is to improve the quality of customer services and to lower the cost of operations at the same time. One example of a successful outsourcing partnership is Bilton's. Bilton's. Almost 2 years ago, the company started outsourcing services to a consortium of companies. The deal with the consortium is for 5 years. Payments are made to the consortium if it reaches its targets. It has to deliver a 2% improvement in customer satisfaction annually. There are huge opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses to make savings by using shared services. For instance, organizations with similar requirements can negotiate to use the same service provider. This would mean that the costs for each company would be reduced through savings of the scale. This is the model behind the deal recently announced for a joint venture between Parts 2Co and Delcan. Partnerships are great opportunities to show what can be achieved with open minds, shared interests, and a commitment to better and cheaper services. Perhaps the experience of the past can actually help make changes for the future. Okay, so do you have any questions with the words that we have here in the article?
I don't know the meaning of consortium. Is that?
Okay, so consortium has a meaning below. Can you see that one in the glossary? Or the glossary, sorry. So in the glossary, we have here, it is a noun, singular, a combination of two or more large international companies which join together for a special common purpose. Okay, so that is the meaning of consortium.
Okay.
Okay, so is there anything else? So do you have any questions?
I don't know which sentence is, but the whole sentence is: this is model behind a deal recently announced for a joint venture between Parts 2Co and Delcan. I don't know the meaning of joint venture.
Okay, so when we say joint venture, let me search. Sorry. So if we say joint venture, okay, so that would mean this is a noun that would mean a business or business activity that two or more people or companies work on together. Okay, so let me just note that one below. Joint venture. Okay, so a business or business activity that two or more people or companies work on together.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Should be green. Okay, so if you want to have your business to be shared with someone, that is called a joint venture. Okay, so you will have or maybe you can share with your capital, share your business together, have a partnership. Okay, so that is joint venture.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
No, I don't have questions about this article.
Okay, so this time let us have our reading activity. So in this activity, read the title or the article and decide if these statements are true or false. So let's have number 21. Okay, so let's read number 21.
Okay. Number 21. British companies are failing to spend money on modernizing their business.
Okay, so that is British companies are failing to spend money on modernizing their businesses. Do you think it's true or false?
I think it's false.
Okay, why do you think it's false?
Because not all British companies are failing are failing on investments.
Okay, so not all are failing with their investments. Okay, so that is false. Okay, so there is just one that had failed, right? Or there are a lot actually that have failed because of the outsourcing that they are doing, right? Yes, okay, so but we cannot really generalize and conclude that all of them are failing. Okay, so actually it says here that they make a huge amount of money in making, or they're investing a huge amount of money in making changes to their traditional business practices. Okay, but there are just challenges that they are facing with this part, but let us not generalize that they are failing, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, how about number 22?
Number 22. Large numbers of companies have invested in new IT equipment.
Okay.
It's also
Why do you think?
because there are customer services.
Okay, it is not, I think, the IT equipment. Okay, they are not. It is not really said here that it is or they are investing in new IT equipment, but they are, or there is just an increased demand of skilled IT resources or the skilled IT workers, right?
Yes.
So it was not mentioned that it is the IT equipment. Very good. How about number 23?
Number 23. The press have reported on many unsuccessful projects. I think this statement is true.
Okay, because
it mentioned there are many newspaper stories of failed projects and broken down relationship between customers and service companies who have outsourced contracts.
Okay, so the press is also reporting those unsuccessful projects, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so that one is true. Okay, very good. So this time I can see that we don't have much time left, right?
Yes.
Yes, but good job in answering the first part of the activities that we have here in our test. I know that it is not easy to remember all of the things that we have learned from Unit 1 to 4, but then you really have tried your best in answering it successfully. So that is very good. Now please take note of the things that we have corrected in this test, especially your pronunciation regarding the long A sound, okay?
Okay, I will.
Okay, so thank you very much and have a great night. Goodbye.
Thank you, Teacher Deann. Good night.